God is intricate. He's the ultimate long-range planner, and you're here for a purpose. So we really need everybody on board. Similar to the days of when God walked with Israel, or Israel walked with God, when they were in alignment with Him, when they were in obedience to Him, they were feared in the land. They had a reputation, and they would hear the musicians be blowing on the shofars, and you could hear the shofars from long distance. They've got a deep resonating sound, and you get a few hundred of these going, and you can hear them from long distance. And what would happen is they would hear those shofars coming, and they would say, here comes those people that serve that God, and we better get out of here because this is bad news. And they knew that they were, they had idols and different gods they worshiped, but they certainly didn't worship the God of Israel. Consequently, the reputation of the children of Israel in right standing with God was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Nobody could stand.
Yeah.
When they were asking God for strategies, and they were following the strategies, at Jericho, nothing could stand, including the walls. When they moved on to the next city and didn't inquire of God, they weren't invincible.
Yeah.
And so it has to do with that relationship that God wants with us. He so desired this relationship. It's just mind-blowing that He sent His only begotten Son to reestablish that relationship that He had with Adam in the garden. And so He wants intimacy with us. He wants us to hear Him. He wants people that will be obedient, because being obedient to God is not like being a slave. It is for our benefit.
Yeah, well, if we were made in God's image, the only way we're going to be happy is if we quit fighting that.
Yeah. And it's the best thing for us.
Yeah.
It's like the kid sitting at the table, and he doesn't want to eat the well-rounded meal. He wants the junk food because that just seems funner. But in the long run, the well-rounded meal is not a punishment. It's a benefit. Mm-hmm. And so we just have to begin to understand that and go back to the roots of this nation and our founding fathers, if we're going to survive this thing.
Yeah. The shofars, what do you personally use them for?
They were used in worship, calling the people to worship. They were used in battle, the battle cry. Those are the two main things that the shofar is used for. So basically, worship is warfare. And so we use them in our home. We have people over and we do worship nights. We'll use them there. At our church, we'll use them to call the people, get the attention of people. At times, before the service, and then other times during the service, just entering into that whole warfare issue that true worship brings forth.
What causes the atmosphere to change? It feels completely very good, very positive when a shofar is blown. What is happening? Because
God is a God of sound. He everything has sound on the earth, and He actually created with the spoken word. And so these sounds are unique, and they are there to take charge of the atmosphere. If the atmosphere seems negative, they're there to pronounce to the unseen world that the kids of the kingdom are here, and we're here to do business. See, the unseen world is more real than the seen world. We have a little bit of issue with that because we can't touch it so much, we can't feel it so much, and few of us can see into it. But please don't discount it because of that. It's the realm of the Spirit, and the realm of the Spirit is more real than this realm.
What's the biblical history a little bit with shofars? You've talked about it. How does God see the shofar?
Well, I'm no expert by any means. There are experts out there, and I've done a little bit of study. I was an old trumpet player in high school, so it kind of fits into the genre of what I'm capable of. But the shofar, like I said, was meant for worship, calling people into worship, getting their attention. It changes atmosphere. It was used in war because they wanted to change the atmosphere. You remember the story of the prophet, and his servant came and said, "Oh gosh, we're in trouble. because the armies are up on the hillside. We're in serious trouble. And he prayed for the servant that God would open his eyes and he'd be able to see reality. Reality was there was more for us than against us. And that day the battle went totally their way and they didn't have to do anything about it. So the shofar it interjects into that realm. Since God is the same today, yesterday, today, and forever, and he sees the beginning and the end, I don't think he's changed his mind about how he likes to do things.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to be learned about that. The Bible, the one verse that keeps rolling over in my head as I study this is, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It's not because the devil's big, the economy's bad, your ancestors were characters. God's people perish for lack of knowledge. And there's so much that we don't know. There's so much that I don't know about our heritage. And our heritage really goes back to the Abrahamic covenant. That was a covenant made by God. We're grafted into that. So if that covenant is not good, then how can you graft something in to a dead root? It's not possible.
Yeah.
And when God makes a covenant, there's at least one side that's dead serious.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, we know that, like Noah's flood, there was a covenant of the ark. And when Jesus came, we still have that covenant of the ark. The
rainbow.
Or the rainbow, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That God promised he'll never flood the earth again.
Yeah.
And when we have the old covenant's still there. It's just we have a new covenant too.
Yes. Well, just think about this God that we have. He's just so tremendous. And he never has to do things because he wants to impress us. He's already impressive. He doesn't have to feel better about himself. He feels just fine. And so when he gives his word on a thing, it's not so we'll think he's really a cool God and we'll begin to believe in him. He does it because he's serious about the covenant, and he's very capable of carrying it off. Yeah. Seeing it through. Yeah,
and we've been in a day where it rains on the just and on the unjust.
Yeah.
But the Bible talks about Revelation and the 7 horns that are blown. When they're talking about the horns that are blown, are they talking about the shofar?
Well, I assume, because horn, in the Bible is translated as trumpet, and trumpet is horn, and so I think they're very able to cross over without any problem. There's another horn that's used at the temple. They use these long silver horns at the temple when the choirs were there, and they would sing and they would sacrifice and they would burn and do all the things they were doing in the at the temple. So it's it doesn't really make any difference to me what it is. It's going to be profound. It's going to be exciting, profound time.
Yeah.
So I'm just I'm glad to be on the earth right now, honestly.
Yeah.
And in an area where God is moving.
Yeah. And I think that's the name of the game, is to find out where God's moving and come in and join him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of the people that are seeing this, that you're here. You're in the valley. There's tremendous things happening in this valley. There's prophetic things that are transpiring now that have been prophesied for years. See, that's the problem with having a prophetic gift or being able to see into the future or hear God into the future. The problem is God's outside of time and you're living in time. So you might have heard a word 12 years ago or 20 years ago, and you just thought it wouldn't come to pass. But in God's economy, that's no time at all. There were things that were said in the Old Testament that the prophets never even saw come to pass. They died before it.
Yeah.
This is that.
Yeah.
Joel said something and now he's dead. Never saw it come to pass. But it didn't matter. It came to pass.
Yeah, and we're seeing it happen. A lot of what they said happening right now.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the media just kind of keeps on going along with it. People just keep watching the media, the TV. And it's just over people's heads what's going on right now, and things are completely prophetic.
Well, and they're buying into what they're told.
Yeah.
Honestly, that can't be done. Because what the media's found and people have found out, if they say this the same thing enough, there's a portion of people that will believe what they say, even though it's untrue. So there's a lot of that happening right now. We got to get back to the word that never changes.
Yeah.
I love that. God is not confused.
Yeah.
I talk to different kids that come to the door, and Mormons that come to the door, Jehovah's Witnesses come to the door, and one of the beefs I have with them is you're rewriting this Bible that you had over and over and over again, changing your mind.
Yeah.
You got a living prophet, he supersedes the written word. I said, honestly, how can I serve a God like that? I come to the end of my life and he changes his mind. I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Our God never changes.
Yeah, and you know, the false prophets, if people would actually take the time to go back and you know, compare what they say to the Bible, or compare what they say to a word that, and it didn't come to pass. It happens over and over and over again with the false prophets. And but usually when that happens, the church organization isn't going to focus on that. They try to brush it aside, so nobody really pays attention to it unless they actually seek it out.
But isn't it funny? They always anchor themselves to the Bible. Every cult, they've got to mention the Bible because they know that it's a standard.
Yeah.
Everybody's tried to take it down. It's not going down.
Yeah. Well, including Muhammad. You know, they had to use the sword to convince so many Muslims to follow Muhammad. You know, and because people aren't going to come to that religion and that Quran based on them convincing it to be true. Because I don't know if you've read it, but I have. You know, most of it, and it's just to me it's just naive for people to take it at its word. It's nothing compared to the amazingness of the Bible and God's word. Nothing.
Right.
So.
Well, there's so much evidence anymore. If you really want to study, if you want to take your Uncle Joe's attitude towards the Bible and make it your own without studying it for yourself, that's not really a wise thing to do. If you find that you study the Bible out, the proof of what's in there, the historicity, which is the supporting documents of the Bible, it's the most accurate, historically accurate book on the planet by 1,000 times. There's so many supporting documents to it, and now they're finding more with the Dead Sea Scrolls, all those things. The supporting evidence is just incredible, and you have to really want to not believe it to not believe it.